Well, the most obvious application of the H4n is to use it to record audio in your living room, at the beach, basically anywhere you want. Now, there are plenty of handy little recorders out there that do kind of a similar thing, but Zoom's Pro Audio heritage places the H4n in a league of its own. My wife has a little recorder from a company that will remain nameless. It too records to memory and has a built-in microphone, but really that's where the similarities end. What makes the H4n special is that both of the parts of the recording equation, the microphones and the recorder itself, are both of extremely high quality. The pair of matched condenser mics on the top of the unit are placed in a unique pattern to gather pristine recordings with virtually no phase cancellation or comb filtering that you get on a lot of other field recorders. Now, the recorder itself can record at far higher sample rate and bit depths than CD quality, up to 96 kilohertz with a resolution of 24 bits. Now, if that means nothing to you, then this is recording quality that is more than twice the sampling rate as the CDs that your favorite artists are on, with a resolution that has more than 100 times the accuracy. And if that means nothing to you, then let me just say this. The quality is absolutely ridiculous on this guy. You won't find a high quality recorder around. I mentioned before that the configuration of the mics at the top of the unit are set there for a specific purpose. If you're recording a stereo sound, maybe coming from the right, for example, if these mics were set up at the outer edges of the unit, then the sound coming from this source here would arrive at this microphone slightly ahead in time than it arriving on the left-hand mic here. And what's more, the waveform would be at a different slope of its curve as it arrives on this mic versus this mic. This is really a nasty problem that audio engineers battle in recording studios when they use multiple microphones. If the same sound arrives at two different mics slightly later than the other, and what's more, that waveform is at a crest on one mic and a trough on the other one when it hits the other mic, that's really not a good thing. Take this for example. Have you ever been at the beach when a wave coming into the shore has crashed into a wave coming back out? Now, if they collide, a lot of the energy gets lost. The same thing happens with audio waves. If the same sound gets recorded by two different mics slightly out of sync or phase, then you can get this type of result. It kind of sounds like this. Do you hear how it sounds? Starts to sound pretty hollow in certain frequencies. You actually might hear this effect on some cheap cable shows where the engineer is really not aware of this problem. So, your job when recording with the H4n is to make sure that the sounds you record are perfectly in sync between the left and right channels, perfectly in phase. Now, can you do that? Sure you can. The unique configuration of these mics allows this mic to pick up what's happening over here, and this mic to pick up what's happening over here. And get this, do you see where they meet? They are aligned so that the axis of each mic meets right in the middle so that all stereo recordings, no matter where they come from, will arrive at the same time at each mic, eliminating phase problems. With the mics meeting right in the middle, any sound will arrive simultaneously at each, but with each pointing out at a 90-degree angle, you'll get a perfect stereo image with no phase cancellation. Actually, the width of the stereo recording is actually adjustable by tweaking the caps. Screw the capsules so they both say 120 here, and you'll widen the stereo field that you can capture. 90 degrees is a right angle. The 120 degree setting will widen that stereo image an extra 30 degrees. So just picture kind of the width of the performance that you're trying to capture. If 90 degrees is going to be too narrow for, say, recording maybe like a choir, then adjust the capsules accordingly. You can always make some test recordings or maybe listen live through some headphones to check that out. Okay, so I'll assume that you place an SD card in the right-hand side of the unit and we're fired up and ready to go. But before we actually make a recording, I'm going to take a quick visit to one of our recording courses to understand the very first thing you need to grasp when making recordings. The range of levels that a recorder can capture is known as its dynamic range. That's the limit on what's the most quiet and the most loudest sound that it can record. Now, our job is to set the levels of our input so that we get close to, but not exceed the maximum limit. Now, both of these extremes, down here and up here, have dangers of their own. Down here is the inherent noise of any signal path, the low-level hiss and hum of, say, your mic cable, for example. Now, I wouldn't set my level way down here because it is down in what we call the noise floor. Then, if you later wanted to amplify this recorded audio, you would bring up the noise floor too, giving you a horrible signal-to-noise ratio. Now, I also don't want to set my levels up here so that it peaks at the top because I'll get distortion. Set your levels so they average at around -12 to -16 dB, so you have a little headroom for occasional peaks. So do you now understand how setting proper recording levels really is just a key to excellent recordings? You get that now? Okay, so let's make a quick recording using the built-in microphones. You can see that we are in stereo.